Hello,
Good afternoon.
how are you?
Ah, yes, clean,
Clean.
which is not what I was a few minutes ago. Um, I did some intervals this morning.
Did
Oh,
you?
no. There was only three of them and they were quite short, but I did them.
What sort of pace were they supposed to be? I mean,
Well, as I'm just winging it at the moment and I'm just starting, I decided on 3 reps and to go on feel.
mm,
So I started the first one at a pace that I felt I could continue, which I didn't quite manage, but it wasn't far off. It did tail off a little bit. But yeah, so it's just I'm going on stuff that I remember being asked to do before. But anyway, but yes,
nice.
aside from that, your training is far more interesting. And yeah, tell me about it because you've done some epic weeks
Some
recently.
epic big
Um,
weeks, yeah. The biggest weeks I've ever done.
do you think
Um,
it's helped being on holiday?
yes. So this week might be a little bit more tricky now that I'm back.
Yeah,
Um, but yes, yeah, really big weeks. Yeah, yeah, just 3 weeks of, well, I'll do it in kilometers because that's how I work, and
yeah,
it's
that's
tough,
fine.
tough for people who don't. So yeah, 106 kilometers, and then 109, then 121 last week. So I know that's about 75 miles. So
Okay, yeah, no,
yeah,
that's a big week.
yeah. So this is just way out of what I'm used to training at. Yeah, 50 miles was normally sort of 50 to sort of 55 with the most I'm ever usually done. So doing this level's been a bit tiring, but actually not as difficult as I thought it might be. Um, I've yeah, I even did a double threshold day, so 2 sessions in one day, which is
Oh, and
yeah,
is this all prescribed to you?
yeah, it is, yeah, by my coach, former Olympian Ross Millington. Yeah,
Oh wow, okay.
yeah.
Okay. So yes, so you're doing what he says and is there a method behind all this madness?
To get my legs used to the sheer volume and fatigue to help me
Mhm.
get around the 24 hours as far as I can possibly go is what I imagine the purpose is of it all. So,
Yeah.
and I was already fairly optimistic about it before having done anything like this. So now I'm really
Mm.
curious as to what I'm capable of. I try not to fixate too much on it, but I also need to know to a certain extent because I need to be able to manage my pace
Mm. Yeah.
adequately. And I mean, I spoke to Michael Starks, and
Yes.
he said to just run as easy as you can and as slow as you can without impacting your form, and to basically just hold that
Right.
as best as you can.
To try and hit a pace that you can be consistent at for as long as possible,
Yeah,
basically.
basically, and that will fade no
Mm.
matter what you do. And
Mm.
when I briefly spoke to Sophie Power on Race to the Stones, she she recited her splits at the time of what she did to get to 236 kilometers, I think it was
Right.
that she did,
Gosh.
and hers all slowed down as well throughout. So that's that I'm to expect that to happen. So
Well, we are human beings. We're not
yeah,
robots.
yeah, exactly,
I don't
yeah,
think anyone, bar perhaps Alexander Sorokin, to be
yeah,
able to maintain a consistent pace throughout.
exactly, yeah. So I would like to know a little bit. I don't know. I don't think Ross is going to be able to estimate it for me. It's going to just be up to me on the day. It's going to be. I know what he's going to say. He's going to say run by feel
Mm.
and don't go too fast. And that's what I'll have to do and just see how it goes. a
Well, we'll
lot
have
of
to ask our next guest, Neil. I mean, I don't think he's done anything like this, but he's certainly very good at um, sort of training the mind
mm,
on that side of things. I think what's really interesting is the whole physical versus mental aspect of it. And as you were saying earlier, how much better you feel that you were already confident, but now you've
mm,
got some big miles in under your belt, you feel even more confident. And it's sort of and it's almost like you know, would you still have been physically capable even if you hadn't done those miles? It's just the mere
yeah,
fact that you've done those miles. Mentally, you're in a much better place. Because
yeah,
you know, physically, how much has that had an impact on you versus the mental impact
mm,
of thinking, yeah, you know, God, I was ready for this before, but now I'm even better prepared. Um,
yeah.
I find it fascinating.
It is, yeah. I wish there was some equation where where you could see like perfect mental state versus physical fitness
Yes,
and
yeah,
how that
exactly.
yeah how that affects your ability, especially on something as long as this.
Yeah. And the moment, you know, the moment you have that positivity, it impacts everything, your whole outlook on everything. And I say that as a, you know, I can now run a whole 5 miles without stopping.
Yeah,
You know, it equates to everyone, whether you're on a 5K or you're like yourself doing a 24-hour race. You know,
yeah,
it's the impact is the same, I
it
think.
is. Yeah, and people say all the time, don't you? The smiling sort of really helps
Mm,
in the mindset sort of thing. Just keep trying to smile, and it can really completely change your outlook on
mm.
things. And there's got to be a whole lot more to it.
And
In
also, I think just knowing, and perhaps that comes with experience, when you're going through a really rough stage, you know it's not going to last. That however bad you think you're feeling, something random will happen. You'll have a grape, and suddenly you'll feel invincible again.
yeah,
And it's sort of it's yeah, it's just sort of not letting yourself go into that downward spiral,
yeah,
but
exactly.
know that something really stupid you know is going to happen at some stage. Um, yeah, as an old friend and client had a website. It was called Life is a Sine Curve,
Hmm.
um, and it is. But I'm sorry, we've not had so much time to talk because Neil has now entered the Run Ultra waiting room,
Right.
and we'll wait for him to tee up. Um, okay.
Yeah,
Oh no, we've got all sorts of different things
yeah,
entering
yeah.
the reading room, the meeting room even. Some meeting notes have entered as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we'll talk to Neil because I reckon he'll have some really interesting insights.
I'm here.
Hi, Neil.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, I'm good. Sorry, let me turn off that's my AI that joins all my meetings. Actually, you
Oh,
might need to kick it out.
well, I wondered what it was.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
it?
you'll have to kick it out. I can't do it.
Oh, well, that's fine. I mean, it's not doing anything, is it? Um,
No, it's not. No, it just summarizes the meeting.
oh, well, that's fine. Neil, meet Robin. Robin,
Hello, Robin.
Neil.
Hello, Neil.
We're just discussing Robin's up and coming 24-hour track race,
Oh, right,
and his
okay, you
training.
nutter.
And no, that's not what I said you'd say, Neil.
No, I'm not. No, to be honest, I mean, I don't. Running around a track has never made any sense to me at all.
No.
um, but if it's something that's a challenge you want to do, or so, have you done one before?
No.
Okay. What made you pick running around a track for 24 hours?
People kept saying how mentally difficult it was, and I want to experience that and push myself and
Yeah.
see just how difficult is it.
And to be honest, that's a good reason to do it for sure.
Yeah.
Is to that's why we do all these ultras, isn't it? Is to push ourselves and see what we're capable of.
Yeah,
Robin is young and new to all of this, and I enjoy, persuading him to enter every race that's going.
Okay, all
Can
right.
experiment them for me.
Yeah,
Anyway, how are you? Thank you for joining us, Neil. It's nice to catch up. For anyone who
yeah,
doesn't know, I used to work with Neil. I used to help him on his social media and some marketing. How is X Energy? How's it all going?
yeah. It's going okay. It's been I guess a couple of years been really interesting from a transition point of view. We're doing fewer multi-day ultras now, which we probably started changing 3 years ago. Um, and moving, so we still do our multi-day, the classic multi-day ultras like Pilgrim and Druid. Um, but most of our focus is on supporting charities. So we still do the 1 day ultras for Humanity Direct
Mm.
and helping them raise money for what they're doing. We then brought in the Essex Ultra for C2C rails and helped them raising money the last couple of years. Um, so we've got that again in September. And then we're doing a lot of long distance charity walking events for charities as well. And that's been we love those events because they're a win-win-win. They're a win for the walkers and the runners that are taking part because they have a great event. They're a win for the charity because they make huge amounts of money, and they're a win for us because we get paid for doing it.
Mm.
So yeah, so it's been I guess a transition period. The ultra market, as you know, has just become completely saturated with events as well.
Mm.
So there's a lot of choice out there for ultra runners at the moment. Um,
Yes, it is. It's a tricky market. Um, yeah, it varies, and there doesn't seem to be any consistency as to what can stay on the market, what doesn't, what comes, what goes, new ones, old ones. Yeah, it'd
yeah,
be interesting to see what are your thoughts on the tracking side of things appears to be quite an important one now, and the sort of digital um, updates, say, of the race.
yeah. I think it depends on the distance. I think on a 50K race, I don't think that many people are too bothered about
No.
tracking where their loved ones are um, in live time. I think on the longer races, on the Essex Ultra, we have because it's a 50-mile run, we have individual trackers on everybody. And part of that is for the runner's benefit, but actually the reason I introduced it was for safety.
Yeah.
I wanted to know where everyone was all the time,
Mm.
especially running along. Some of those sections are quite remote, and people are on their own running, especially when you get to the night phases of a 50 miler. So I think that so for the longer distances, I think it's not just an option. I think it's essential.
Mm. Mm.
Have you had to take that into account in your costing? Does it cost a lot of money to add tracking?
Yes, it does cost more.
Mm.
The the Essex Ultra, because all the costs for that event are paid for by C2C railways, it goes into the cost that we charge them. If we were bringing it into our normal events, then there is a significant increase in cost from a normal timing system.
Mm.
Um, I know that some events add an extra charge for that, so they clear, it's a stated
Yeah.
extra charge. And there's a deposit as well, I think, so that if the track is not handed back, they end up forfeiting that deposit. I we're a big believer in the all-inclusive approach. So I think if we were going to include trackers, we would have to include it in the overall price rather than as an extra, just because that's the way we like to do things. I don't like to have extras that you have to pay. I
Mm.
know a lot of events, you've got lots of add-ons, and suddenly this
Yeah.
£50 entry fee is £120 once you've added everything on, whereas we tend to
Like
have
Ryanair.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it is. Yeah, and actually, I won't mention the name, but I had one ultra running company exactly described as the Ryanair of ultra running. And part of it was because of that. It was, you've got the
Mm.
basics, and then if you want anything extra like food and transport and
Yeah,
accommodation, all gets added on.
yeah, yeah. Did, I'm interested in this. Do you think this is perhaps a new sort of business model to employ you as a firm to put on a race? Or do you think that's only really attractive to the sort of charity sector?
No, I mean it's not a new model, to be honest. I worked with a company years ago called what were they called? No, it's gone from my head now. They used to organize adventure races. So back in 99, 2000. And the reason I ended up working for them was the team I was with, we used to win every adventure race that we turned up to. So they said, look, we can't have you do this anymore. So they didn't want us turning up. So they wanted us to come and help them. So it'll come back to me what they're called. But
Mm,
they were doing organizing big adventure races and events for corporates. So, like Microsoft might put on a big event for not just their employees, but their suppliers and their partners and that kind of thing.
oh,
So,
really?
like the obstacle race type thing. So, to know a lot of event organizers have in their portfolio or amongst their diary for the year events that are paid for by companies to organize. And charities, that's something I'm focusing on because I don't think charities realize that just by spending a little bit of money on having a professional events organizer organize an event for them, it can massively scale the income they can. And I'll give you a great example. So, Royal Surrey Hospital, we've been organizing a walking event for them for you, walking stroke running. It's mainly walking. It's a bit like, uh,
LDWA.
yeah, well, it's a bit no. There's a what's the company that organizes all the challenge events?
Oh, yeah.
Action Challenge. So Action
Yes.
Challenge, they're mainly walkers, but there's a few runners in there as well. And that's kind of the when you see this Royal Surrey Hospital event. And what we found is so we organize a 25K, 15K, 10K, and 5K distance. And the 5K is accessible to people with wheelchairs and who are not able. And the cost of organizing it isn't that much for us to organize it, and the cost of all the they raised last year, the third year we've done it, over £80,000. It's their biggest fundraising event of the
Mm.
year, by putting on that walking day. It's a day's basically walking challenge. So I'm really keen to help charities unlock
Yeah.
that potential.
Yeah. I mean, what are the numbers? What numbers are we talking in terms of participants? What,
For that one, 300 plus.
yeah. And do you think it because of sort of the broad range of distances that it attracts those numbers? Is there an
Uh,
overly obvious popular distance?
no, not really. I think the attraction is twofold. I think with walking events, it's easy to sign up last minute and just turn up and do them.
Mm,
You don't have to train too hard to be able to walk 10K or 15K. But there's real purpose behind why you're doing it. And so I think that, especially if people are connected with family members who've been treated by the hospital, because it's a cancer ward at the hospital.
yeah.
And we had one year, we had a group of people, young people turn out, huge group, because about 2 weeks before, a young lady who had cancer had died. She was a social influencer, and just a massive group of people turned up in support of her, all dressed up as Disney princesses, if I remember rightly. So, it was so honestly, you get this amazing feeling as an organizer when you see
Mm,
people cross the finish line and what it means to them, and you've created that opportunity for them to do that. It's the same with Humanity Direct and those ultras we do for them.
yeah.
not everyone raises money for those. Some people just pay the entry fee, but that will go straight to the charity. But the when people cross the finish line and they've achieved something amazing and they know they've helped others with it, that's quite emotional for them,
Mm.
and it's an emotional for us as well as we help them do it.
That's nice. I mean, you always have people on Facebook and etc. Like, I'm running for this cause, I'm running for that, and I've given money to people over the years for pretty much, well, it's usually road marathons, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I've never done it myself because I feel like I'm just been waiting for the right sort of event. But I find it difficult personally because everyone knows I love running so much. When can I ever assign a charity to it and say, "Oh, please donate so I can finish this race"? They'll be like, "Robin, you'll do that anyway."
Yeah, and there is a balance, right? Because I've heard that myself before. Why would we pay you to go and do something you love doing, Neil?
Yeah,
Well, you're not paying me to start with. You're helping raise money that's going to support, people who need
Mm.
it. Um, yeah. So the challenge is if you normally turn up and do 50 Ks, doing a 50K to raise money isn't enough
yeah,
for someone like you. So and for someone like me, when I did the 300-mile Arctic Ultra, that's the first time, apart from my first London Marathon 20 years before, where I actually asked for people to raise money specifically for one of the children that Humanity Direct was sponsoring to have her ears replaced. She didn't have any ears, so she couldn't participate in school or take part in normal life. And so
mm.
we were raising money to basically put on false ears and so she could hear.
Wow,
Now, that really means something really specific. And,
Mm.
that drove me personally when I was going through some really tough times on that event. But because the event was so massive and people just couldn't get their head around how hard it was going to be, it meant that people dug deep in their pockets as well.
that's
So I think you have to make it big and you have to make it something that scares you, and therefore people are going to really
Yeah.
uh, like the 60-hour challenge I just did recently. That was
yeah.
another one where I just couldn't believe the generosity of people on that one.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, that's a good point. Yes, there has to be. So I'll have to do at least 300 miles then as well. Maybe I can go to the Yukon.
Well, you could. Anyone can. Just
Yeah.
prepare properly for that one.
Oh, well, I mean, there's so many leads I can take here now, but tell me about your 60-hour challenge.
Yeah, so I wanted to do something. I was 60 in July, and I wanted to do something to mark the milestone. And I couldn't think of something else. I don't know how I came up with 60 hours, but it was 60 hours at 60 seemed like a good marketing pun. So that was what it became. And so the challenge was I left the house at 6 o'clock on Friday morning, and I kept moving, walking, not really running that much, if I'm honest, over the 3 days. And I finished at 6 o'clock Sunday evening.
Wow.
So I didn't sleep. I did every loop, every 50-kilometer loop brought me back via home so I could grab something to eat. It was a really hot weekend as well. It was the hottest weekend of the year. So um, I jumped in a cold bath, changed my clothes, had something to eat, and then headed out again. And so that was the challenge. And what I was overwhelmed by was the amazing support I got for the event. And, we raised a huge amount of money for charity. But on top of that, what I really wasn't expecting was how many people it inspired to do things in their life.
Mm.
And I just had my Facebook message feeds full of stuff about it. I had my WhatsApps. Well, honestly, I didn't realize that me doing that would have such an impact on other people. So it was flipping hard, especially on the hottest day of the year, and especially on it's always the second night when you go into the next morning where
Mm.
your brain's all over the place. You're hallucinating like mad. It took me on the Sunday morning. I was going at less than 2 miles an hour at one point because I just really was wobbling all over. If you had a tracker on me, I was probably winding along the canal path. Um, but then, some food, a quick rest, and off you go, and you feel fine again. So it had some massive highs through the nights. I love the night times. They're amazing. So had some highs, had some lows, but yeah, the money raised, the overwhelming support. I mean, I had a tracker on me. I had people just pop out of nowhere and join me.
Yeah, that's
It was
lovely.
incredible. Some of our runners, some of our supporters, literally just I would come out of a wood line and there would be someone waiting to join me on the next leg. So it was quite amazing.
I think there's something, and obviously it happened a lot during COVID, but I think people like having an event organized for them so that they can just tip up and do it. But actually, sort of planning your own challenge
Mm.
is not only hard to think about it, but to go through it as well, because you're by yourself. You don't have people around you or checkpoint volunteers to urge
No,
you on. I mean, it's again back to Robin's 24-hour thing. Mentally, I haven't done it, but I'm thinking that's a very hard challenge when you're by yourself.
yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah. I think and that's but in our ultra world, most of the time you're on your own and your own thoughts anyway, even if you're in an event.
yeah.
You
Mm,
know, on the Yukon Arctic Ultra, I saw people 10% of the time I was out there over 6 days. Most of the time I'm on my own in the middle of nowhere in the dark.
mm.
And I love it.
Yeah.
You could do without the big shiny eyes from the woods of the wolves that are watching you as you go past, but that you're probably okay. But even on something like the UTMB, which I've done twice, and the other races that I've done as well around Ultra Trail and Mont Blanc week, um, there are times on that, even though it's such a crowded race, there are times on that where you are all on your own.
Really?
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere, in the mountains. So
Mm.
you do have to be, and everyone listening to this who's an ultra runner will know this because it doesn't matter what you've done, you have to be able to manage that mindset and that personal motivation through the ups and downs because there will be downs as well as ups.
Definitely, definitely. And you, I mean, obviously you wrote a book after coming back from the Yukon, didn't you? Was that purely based on what you discovered while you were out there?
Partly, and partly, basically where it came from, just the very brief history story of where the book came from. It was the second afternoon in the Yukon where it was a sunny afternoon. Um, it was a beautiful snowy trail in front of me, a lake glistening to my right, hills to the left where the sun was setting behind for the evening. And the night before was one of the hardest nights they'd had on record in that race. So it went down to minus 50 degrees centigrade. You don't realize that when you're in the event itself. It was brutal. I couldn't understand why I was getting so fatigued overnight because I'd gone through the marathon mark no problem. I wanted to get to the 50-mile mark by like 1 in the morning. No sign, but 1 o'clock came and went, and there was no sign of it. So I was fatiguing really quickly, and I couldn't understand why because it was only day one. But I made a decision to put a tent up and stop, which was a really big decision in those temperatures. Because putting a tent up in deep snow in those, you have to be very fast at doing it, or else you get cold very, very quickly. But I did that, and then I carried on, and as I got through that day, I didn't know this at the time, but I found out later that of 44 people that started, only six got through that night.
Wow.
Everyone else pulled out, or they didn't pull out because you can't just pull out. You have to be recovered, and it took them nearly 3 days to recover everyone because you could only get in and out on skidoos. You can only take one person out at a time. So, I was going into this afternoon and I the second afternoon, I just thought, why is it I keep managing to achieve these things that other, and other people can't? And so I thought I must try and come up with a structure and a formula to help people. And that was where the 7P formula came from, because I just wanted to, and the book is all about, if you want to achieve a big goal, here's a suggested approach you could use for achieving that goal that I've learned. And so the book is stories, not just from the Yukon, but from UTMB, from time in the army, from other events like Marathon des Sables, that I've learned about how do you get ready for the events, and then how do you set yourself up for success during the events.
I told you you'd need to talk to Neil.
Yeah, you were right. Yeah, I know. I'm just listening here. I'm not even like thinking of the next question. I'm just already absorbed.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go next. What are the 7Ps? Are we allowed to know what the or do we
Okay.
have to read the book?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to share them, and they're all available through my website as well. You can go and listen to me speaking about them or download. But so the first one is P for purpose. So before, you've got to be absolutely clear on your why.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? What does this mean? And there are two whys. And again, I learned this from me and from seeing others. The first why is, why are you doing it for you? What does it mean to you? How is it going to help you grow? What will you change in you by doing this? So what's the why? Like you said earlier, Robin, it's about knowing what you're capable of. That's a great why. The second why is, why, who else is going to benefit from you doing this? What's the why that, and I call it the external why. Who's the why for? And that might, for me, with, I talked about the girl with the ears needed replacing. That was a big why, an external why. It wasn't about me, it was about her. I also knew on the Yukon that I had a tracker on, and I knew loads of people were following me. And if I could inspire one of those people to do something that they hadn't done, that would push through their limiting beliefs, that was a big why for me as well. And the way I describe the two whys is, your internal why will get you to the start line. It will get you to the point where you're ready to step over the start line. The external reason why, the second reason, will get you to the finish line. And I've sat there on in the book, I tell a story about the TDS, which is one of the UTMB events, the Tour de Savoie, I think it is, or something like that. It's a tough one. It's like everything they couldn't put in UTMB, they throw into TDS, like some of the biggest climbs, water crossings, rope descents. It's a tough one. But I remember going into a tent on the first night there in a place called Rosalind. And those listening who've done the event will know Rosalind. So you get to this place just as it's getting dark on the Saturday or the first night, whichever day they're starting the event. And it was hammering with rain, and we're in a marquee, and you could hear the rain hammering on the outside. And you looked around the tent and you could see people had given up. I didn't not want to stay in that tent for long, because otherwise I was going to become one of them. So I literally just got up and went out. But you could see, if you've got a strong external reason why, you won't stop. You're not going to give up in that because it's wet and because it's hard. But the organisers know that Rosalind is a place where everyone pulls out, because there are a load of buses waiting outside to transport people back to so you've got these warm buses waiting, as well as
That's evil.
it is evil, but it's what they do, because after there it gets tough. So you don't really want people carrying on past there if they're going to need recovering. So internal reason why, get you to the start line. External reason why will get you to the finish line. So that's the first P. Second P is all about preparation, and specific preparation, not just jumping on a running machine and running, for an hour. If you're going to be in the mountains, you've got to get out to the mountains. If you're going to be in the desert, get out to the desert. Do specific preparation. For the Yukon, I came out to the mountains where I am now, and I went in the winter and I went up the mountains. I tested the kit. Guess what? Some of the recommended kit didn't work when you've got gloves on, which you're best off, find that out in preparation rather than find it out when you need it. So specific preparation. And the other thing which Andy Mounsey talks about a lot, and Andy and I did a lot of work together over the years. He talks about jeopardy. Put yourself in situations that you might come across during the race in preparation. Make it hard in preparation so that when it comes hard, so if you might get soaking wet by having to cross a river, go and jump in a river while you're out training one night in the dark, get yourself wet, and then and then carry on running for another 15 miles or something, because you might have to do that in the race. All right. So jeopardy, train specifically for what might happen. So preparation is number 2. I'll pause there because if you've got any questions, I don't want to just make this as me spieling the 7P.
Oh no, it's super interesting.
I mean,
I'm already like thinking in my head, like, oh, what's my preparation? Okay, yeah, it's pretty good. It is quite specific as well, to be fair.
well, yeah, you just need to go in circles.
Yeah, exactly.
But go in circles, but wake yourself up at midnight one day and go to a track at 2 a.m. and run around the track for 2 hours.
I was literally just thinking that when you were saying it, I was like, I need to go at night and do one of my long runs around the track, maybe instead of in the day.
Yeah.
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 I'm interested in the external purpose, because I don't think that many people actually have one. If they're not obviously running for charity or something obvious. I'm trying to think if I've ever started a race. I think everything I've done has been for purely selfish reasons.
And that's probably true of, as you say, of a lot of people. It's like they want to do this event, and if it's something that's going to really challenge you, something big, something that you're not sure you can finish. If you know you can run 50K, you don't need the external reason why. But if you're stepping up from 50K to 100 miles or 150 or 200 miles, you might want to think about who else could benefit from this. Who else could I help? Who else could I inspire? Who else could I bring on this journey?
Yeah, no, I think that's a very interesting one.
I do it a lot with my business coaching as well. Same thing, because business leaders, business owners have very strong internal reasons why they're doing things. Whether it's financial or whether it's their personal growth or whether it's they want to achieve a big goal. But actually, when you get down to the external reasons why, that's where they suddenly get really, really motivated.
Yeah, see, I run my own business, and I feel like my external why is really easy for that, because I want the business to do well so that all my employees can thrive themselves.
Which is brilliant, Robin. That's exactly the kind of external reason that I ask clients to think about and focus on. Yeah,
good.
So you're absolutely right. Yeah, because so that and it's not an obvious one, the external reasons, but it's worth thinking through.
It doesn't have to be raising money, does it? I mean, there's all sorts of other, to as you say, inspire one's children or
following, the following you've got. But you could go out and search for who do you want to inspire? Who would be inspired by this? Who would like to hear what I've got to say when I come back?
Yes. Who would it help?
Yeah.
Other middle-aged women.
Yeah, exactly. No, don't be dismissive about that. So actually a really good point, because especially in the ultra world, it's not as inclusive when it comes to women in as some other events are.
Interesting. Okay, number 3.
Okay, third piece, pretty easy. Actually, just have a plan. Build a plan of how you're going to get to your goal, and break that plan down as detailed as you can. So, but have a plan so that it looks real on paper to you. It might be So my plan when I went to the Yukon, just an outline, was I was going to do 2.5-hour stints every 2.5 hours, I was going to stop for 10 minutes, have something to eat, and then carry on. Have a rest, 10 minutes, and then carry on. So it was kind of breaking it down into a plan. Then I broke that plan down into the 50 miles, the 100 miles. So getting to aid stations. When I got to certain aid stations, I was going to stop for an hour or longer, and then I was going to move on. So, plan the event like with the UTMB. You might plan, the certain times you want to be at certain distances so that you don't have to worry about cutoffs. But build the plan. So that's what the third P is, which is pretty straightforward. The fourth P is a really important one, which is pledge. So this is where when you step over that start line, any doubt in your mind turns to must. So you turn a might to a must. As your foot steps over the start line, the mindset goes, because if it's tough, if it's big, you'll be approaching that start line thinking, I don't know whether I can finish this. I don't know whether I can do this. You'll have all those doubts going through your head. But as soon as your foot goes over the start line in a race or in business or in any big goal you're taking on, you have to change that mindset to, I will finish this. And that's a physiology change in your body, because your body changes when you look up, your chest puffs out. There's a physiology change in you. There's a change in the things you're saying to yourself. There's no doubt going through your head anymore. You're focused on, right, how am I going to get to the next hour, the next 2 hours? What does that break down into? So that's what fourth P is pledge.
Yeah, I can completely attest to that one, because as I said to Kate earlier, when I spoke to Michael Stocks, who's a famous 24-hour track runner, a former V50 world record holder, I think it is.
Right.
He said, make sure you have answers for all of the questions that you're going to be throwing at yourself throughout, and be ready for how difficult those questions could be, because you're incredibly persuasive in reasons as to why you should and are allowed to drop out. Like, oh, you've already gone so far already. What an incredible achievement. There's no shame in just stepping off a track. Now you've proved more than you needed to. Like all that sort of mental aspect.
Yeah, and it's the BS you tell yourself to give yourself an excuse to step out. I mean, I remember in UTMB one year, I wasn't racing, I was supporting someone, and it was pretty wet. And there was some, it was a wet event. And so and I could see on social media people dropping out here and there, it's getting tougher. And there were a couple of people came on, and there was this thread started, which was, the organizers should have stopped the event. It's too dangerous. They shouldn't be doing this. They shouldn't. And I thought, you're just making excuses now because you didn't carry on and other people did.
Mm-hmm.
And the organizers know the mountains a lot better than someone from London's suburbs do. They know whether they should cancel the event or not, and they will cancel it. I've been in the middle of UTMB before, and they've stopped the event mid-race, literally stopped. We've ended up, in the middle of nowhere, and we're having to make our way back to the start. So, and I just that BS excuses you try and make, and then you try and justify. And I've been there. I mean, one of the UTMBs I did, I was coming out of Italy into Switzerland, and it's a big climb up there. I can't remember what the climb's called now. Someone will put it in the comments, I'm sure. But I went through one of those moments, and I sat down and I thought, right, what excuses can I put on Facebook as to why I didn't finish this event? Because I've never DNF'd ever, and so I just thought, and I gave myself a kick in the backside and carried on. But you can easily make those excuses if you're not careful.
Yeah, one of the people I ran Race to the Stones with, Dylan, he fell quite early on in the 100K, and it was already super. It was the same weekend you did the 60 hours as well,
hot, wasn't it? Yeah.
So he already had a massive excuse to drop out because of the heat, but then the fall as well. I was so impressed that he went on and finished, because just having that extra reason there as to duck out of all the heat and stuff as well, and to come and do it again another year, fell, or I couldn't carry on. I thought that was amazing that he managed to shrug that off.
it's about your belief system, isn't it? If you believe you're not the kind of person who doesn't finish things, you will make sure you do, because that's just not you. You will always finish.
Well, I hope I continue to do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you miss a cut off, that's different. Someone else has pulled you out there. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
Yes,
down.
and that's actually a strategy I employed um, during Lavaredo. I was really struggling, and I subsequently discovered it was the altitude. I couldn't stay awake. I just couldn't stay awake. Um, and yeah, I just walked. And it was just horrible. You know, when you're driving a long way and you get that horrible sleepy that you're fighting. I just
yeah,
had that the whole time, and I was just fighting it. I'd stop, have a trail nap, get up, keep going. And in the end, I just thought, right, I'm not gonna finish this race, but I'm gonna keep going until I'm literally stopped
yeah.
because I'm so cross with my
Mm.
body. It let me down. Um, yeah.
What did you learn from that experience that you would do differently?
Never do that race again. I hated it. So busy, so many people. Um, I think I was surprised, to be honest. Perhaps I was arrogant, thinking, well, I've skied, I've never had a problem with altitude. It never occurred to me that obviously running is a very different thing to skiing. You know, you're not panting your way up a mountain. So yeah, I suppose I would train better, that uh,
Yeah, get
specific
out,
training.
get out there, get out early, and get
Yeah,
up into the
yeah,
mountains. That's really important. And
yeah,
train in the mountains. Honestly,
yeah.
I used to run a UTMB seminar, and so we used to get people along to a seminar to talk about UTMB and how to get ready for that and how to make sure you're successful. Because the dropout rate from Brits was above 60%.
Mm.
And that wasn't because they were injured or anything. They just pulled out. They didn't make it. Um, and
Is that just a perception that, oh, oh, that looks lovely, I'll enter that. Um,
there's definitely some of that. I would ask people as part of the seminar was, what kind of time are you shooting for? And you'd get answers like, well, yeah, I'm hoping to do sub 30. I did 24-hour on the South Downs Way. I reckon I can do sub 30 in UTMB. And then you'd get, and so you'd hear this stuff. And okay, let's just have a look at the results of the event, shall we? And how you would be top 30 if you came in under 30 hours. The average speed, and this is why a lot of Brits drop out of UTMB, the average speed on the event is 2.5 miles an hour.
wow, yeah.
And you're well within the cutoffs if you're doing 2.5 miles an hour.
Mm,
So it is a mindset shift completely from doing 5 miles an hour
mm.
on a Thames Path or a South Downs Way.
Yeah.
So, but you'd know that if you went and trained in the mountains.
A friend of mine who moved out to Chamonix a few years ago, she said she'd had to learn to embrace the 30-minute mile, and it was a
Mm.
whole new world. That,
Yeah,
yeah, if you're a runner, and yeah, as you say, in the UK, most of the UK, it wouldn't occur to you. You just run everywhere.
yeah, and so there's that mindset shift, and that's all about preparation. Do the right preparation, then you know what's coming, you know what to expect. Um, yeah, and altitude does affect people in different ways.
Mm.
And it's noticing it as well that's really key, is noticing when it is affecting you.
Well, which I
We
did. I just thought I was ridiculously tired.
Mm.
Um,
But
but
you've got to get out there so early, don't you, to really properly adjust and acclimatize, and that's going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah, 3 days I think is about what most people say. If you're out here 3 days before, I say here because I'm in the Alps, but out here 3 days before, and then you get up high, your body starts getting used to the lower air pressure, which means you have to take in more oxygen.
All right, I'd heard you had to get out for like 2 weeks before.
maybe if you're an elite athlete, but most
Yeah.
of us amateurs, once you've gone up Le Houche and you're over the first hill,
Right.
in UTMB, you're probably starting to get used to it as well. So, but get out there early enough, because even in the valley, you're at 1,200 meters or something like that.
Mm.
So you're already at altitude just by being in the
Yeah.
vall't and
Okay.
the
And I
heat.
suppose it's only a couple of extra nights of accommodation. I mean, everything else, it's a big thing
Yeah.
to do, isn't it? To go and do an event in the mountains anyway is it's not exactly cheap.
No, it's more accessible though than going somewhere like the desert or somewhere further afield.
Yeah.
So it's not Chamonix's not bad to be honest to get to because it's you can fly quite easily from Geneva and then there's cheap transports to Chamonix. Um, but yeah, I mean it depends what you want to get out of the. Most people look at it as a week's holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
James Elson's always talking about staying in Courmayeur as opposed to Chamonix and then driving through the tunnel to get there. But I've heard it's
That's
very expensive
expensive.
there.
Yeah, I'm cool. I mean, they're both lovely.
Mm.
But to be honest, I like staying in Chamonix. I like the atmosphere. I like the whole feel. You're part of the event.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I think it's and when you finish, if you're finishing in Chamonix, not in Courmayeur, um, you want to be walking distance from your
Yeah.
hotel.
Are
Yeah.
you
Good
there
point.
for that reason now, or are you there
No, no,
just
we're just out in the Alps for our normal August break.
oh, lovely.
Nice.
Okay. What number are we up to?
We did
Five?
four, so the fifth P is perception. So basically, when you step over the start line, things will change, and the plan you had will need adapting. So if you stick rigidly to a plan without taking into account, like going to minus 50 degrees on the first night of the Yukon, if you don't take those things into account, you're probably going to fail. So you have to adjust your plan based on your perception. It's almost like a dashboard that you're constantly going through. What's my pace look like? How am I feeling? How are my feet? Especially in desert or Arctic conditions, you want to be checking. You've got this like constant body scan going on.
Mm.
When was the last time I ate? When was the last time I had something to drink? And just constantly being perceptive of everything and adjusting the plan. The 2.5 hour plan I had for the Yukon, I changed to 2 hours because 2.5 hours was too long. So I changed it to 2 hours and 10 minutes instead of 2.5 hours and 10 minutes. The sleeping on the trail the first night, that wasn't part of the plan at all, but that was something I decided to do. So perception is the fifth P. The sixth P is pain. So you will go through pain. And there needs to be a pain strategy that you have prepared during your preparation. And that could be, it's kind of like the break glass when you need it. So that could be a piece of dark chocolate Kendall milk cake that you keep in a pocket and you only get it out when you're at that low and you need a pick me up. And you practice it in preparation, right? So you practice when you're in the middle of the night and you Kendall milk cake. That's the trigger that's gonna make me feel good. I had a playlist that I had on an old-fashioned iPod, which I carried inside my jacket. This is in the Yukon, and I carried it on inside my jacket to keep it warm so the batteries didn't go flat.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it was only there in an emergency. It wasn't to listen to, just for the sake of it. It was
Mm.
there in an emergency. And I can't remember which morning it was, fourth morning maybe. I was on a real low as the sun was coming up and I was feeling pretty down. So I put on my playlist and it massively lifted me up because every song on there is a trigger for happiness or trigger for some kind of positive feeling. So it could be a phone call to someone
Mm.
that means that believes in you more than you believe in yourself. That the doubt you've got in your mind, it could be that you just phone someone up and they just say, look, I believe in you. I believe, you're doing great. You've done this before. You've done better, more than this. You can get through this. You're just that person who believes in you at that moment more than you believe in yourself. So have your pain strategy before you step over the start line. Don't try and form it while you're out there.
That's a great. I love that one.
Yeah, that's really good, that one.
Yeah.
And
I can't.
the final one is dead simple. It's persist, because you only ever fail if you stop.
Mm.
So just persist and keep that perseverance, I think is what I put in the book, perseverance. So you persevere until you get what you want. So there's no such thing as failure. There's just a learning. So, it didn't work this time. Right. Persevere. I'm going to go and I'm going to learn next time. I'm going to do it next time. So you only ever fail if you give up and stop.
Looks like you're going back to Lavarado, Kate.
Oh,
It'll haunt you if you don't.
well, I've got many hauntings on that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I mean, I would love to go back. I mean, yeah, that's just not one I care enough about.
Hmm.
I would go back and do it and do the route by myself. Um, but I didn't like the atmosphere. I didn't like the numbers of people. I didn't like the silence. I didn't
Hmm.
like the fact that I wasn't ever alone. Throughout that whole, I was in it for 24 hours and I was never alone. And yet I was surrounded by people who didn't talk to me and who didn't reply, and either because they were miserable or because there was a language barrier.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so, yeah, actually, good old British ultras, you can't fail to find someone to rock up to and go, all right, how you doing? And you're all right, mate. And,
Yeah.
even if it's just um, okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Or
That
the
is.
next person will be like, oh God, why on earth did I think this was a good idea? Uh,
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. It's the only European race I've done, so I don't know if there's a different sort of
Hmm.
mindset over there. I'm not sure. Or maybe I was just unlucky that time.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges, there's an interesting challenge with international races because you normally have to wear the race number on the front. So and they've normally got the country that you're from on the race number.
Hmm.
So when you're approaching someone from behind, you have no idea what language they are,
Mm.
or what country they're from. And so you can't strike up a conversation with someone without, randomly. You could try, I suppose, but you might hit on 10 people before you find someone who's actually English. It's
Mm.
the same in the Sahara. It's the same in fact, every event I've done,
Mm.
unless you like small events like the Kalahari, pretty much everyone
Yeah.
is English speaking there. Or the Grand to Grand, again, most people are English speaking. The non-English speakers are quite small, and they all speak English anyway because the whole race is briefed in English. Um, so yeah, but things like Marathon des Sables, it's a French race. So, the briefings are in French. Everything is in French. I think they've changed it now and they do it French and English. Now Patrick's not involved. Um, UTMB, everything is French. There is no English translation in UTMB. So I've not done an Italian race.
Oh, funny. Yeah. Well, I mean, gosh, there was no race briefing. And if there was, I wouldn't have heard it because the town square was just heaving. I mean, I've just never seen so many people. It took 10 minutes to cross the start line
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah,
even
yeah.
reach the funnel. Yeah.
It, it's
Mm.
it's the race start time as well. Is that because of a course to make sure people are over a certain part of the course when it's in the daytime? Like why do all of these international ones start at like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. at night?
I did the Lakeland Trails 100K several years ago, and that started at 11 or midnight. And I loved that actually. I'm not very good at going through the night at all. So for me, starting a race at 8, going through the whole day, going into the night, sort of 1, 2 o'clock, absolutely guaranteed that's when I hit my lowest point and I really struggle. I just want to go to sleep. But I found that by starting at midnight, I didn't have that at all.
Hmm.
And then the idea being that, we finished in the evening the following day. So that didn't bother me. I don't know if there's a logistical reason from a race director's point of view.
Yeah.
You start at the finish time and work backwards. Basically, when do you want the last people to finish and
Mm,
work backwards from there?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
mm,
Yeah, that's what I've always done, and that's what UTMB does. They want the last people to finish at, I think it's 10 o'clock on Sunday evening or 6 o'clock on Sunday evening, so they work back from there.
Right. Okay. I like that.
Mm.
Well, what an amazing 7Ps. I'm gonna have to read the book now.
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
hopefully it helps you, Robin. Hopefully it'll help you.
will apply to all areas of life.
Yeah. Well, I like a good methodology, and it sounds like it'll apply to both areas of my life anyway. So it sounds like it's something that I should have a look at. So I will.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad it's been helpful.
Well, I'm really interested. It's been really interesting to hear about your, how X Energy has developed actually, and I'm also very interested in that. Yeah, the directing races for charities, and that sounds like a really interesting and worthy avenue.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we still love our multi-days, right? So the Druid in November is still a classic in the calendar.
Mm,
Over Remembrance Weekend, those 3 days out along the Ridgeway, which is the original multi-day on the Ridgeway, by the way. The Race to the Stones copied us. Although theirs is shorter
Yeah,
and you have to pay lots of extras on that one.
you
But
do.
no, seriously, theirs is a great event as well. But ours is all about, ours is a very family event, very inclusive. We don't have cut-off times at any of our events to allow everyone the chance to finish. The only time I think we've only ever stopped someone once, and that was just because it was getting a bit dangerous in the snow for our crew on one event in the dark. So, and it was getting very late, but we like it to be inclusive, and the overnights are just amazing because you have, the first people that are finished and the last people all in the same place, all chatting about their stories of what their day's been like, which you don't get at single stage events because everyone goes home when they
Mm.
finish.
yes. Yeah.
So the Druid and the Pilgrim will stay in the calendar because
Mm,
people love coming to those. And for the Marathon des Sables guys, we get pretty much everyone from the UK who's going Marathon des Sables will come through one of those events.
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you're the only one that does them in the winter as well. I mean, there's none of this sunshine lark. It's cold and gritty.
Yeah, and I don't know how we ended up there with those events. I think the Pilgrim I do know because it was timed basically on when Marathon des Sables starts. So we worked it back from there. When would be a good time to have a multi-day in the calendar? Um, Druid, I can't remember how we came up with that date, but I knew I wanted to do something over Remembrance Weekend because standing on top of the Ridgeway, starting people off on Sunday morning, we always do a minute's silence, and we've done it for the last 17 years, I think we're into now. So 17 years
Wow.
and
Nice.
three starts, all with a minute's silence, is quite special
Mm,
on the Sunday morning.
That's really unique. I love that.
mm, mm.
Mm.
Wow.
Even
Wow.
even if it's cold and wet, everyone still stands there for a minute,
Yeah.
and yeah, it is special. It is special. So no, we'll still do those, but yeah, the charity events are an area that I love being part of.
Mm.
Oh, brilliant. Well,
You mentioned just before we wrap things up about adventure racing in the past. Could you just explain a bit more what adventure racing is? Because I feel
Yeah, so
like,
what it was in the late 80s, early 90s, it's kind of stopped now, but adventure racing, it was cycling, canoeing, and running. And it normally involved orienteering because you had to make a decision on how far you were going to go, which checkpoints you were going to go to, because the ones that were furthest away had the most points, the one that was closest had the fewest points. So you do the maps, you basically get your map out, you mark on the where the checkpoints are, and then or the points are, and then you go around on the bike, on foot, and in the canoe. Or there are some non-stop ones as well where you would run first, then canoe, then cycle, or cycle first, then canoe, then run, depending on, and they were like non-stop, like a triathlon.
Nice.
So that's what adventure
It's
races
still
were.
going. I'm actually helping. I'm doing some social media for Nav4 Adventure Racing. And
Ah,
the big
okay.
one in the UK is happening right now. It's the ITERA,
Oh yeah,
ITERA,
yeah,
run by Dirty Events, and
yeah.
it's up in the Highlands of Scotland. Robin, I implore you, go and have a look.
Yeah, we'll do.
It is. I'm being drawn into it gradually, and I find it fascinating. And yeah, it's tough. 5 days non-stop.
Mm.
Yeah, well, that's where your strategy comes in, your plan comes in, because you
Yeah.
can't do it non-stop. You have to sleep, so you have to plan
Yes.
when you're going to sleep, how you're going to
Yeah.
sleep.
And the
Um,
control points and the
yeah.
strategy behind which ones you go for, which ones perhaps you drop. And then you get time penalties. Oh, it's I'm on a steep learning curve.
Well, to be honest, here's an interesting story to close things off. So the reason Anna and I got together, so my wife, we needed a strong female to take part in it because you need mixed teams for most adventure racing. And we had very strong three blokes, strong cyclists, strong runners, strong canoeists, and we needed a female. And someone said, actually, there's this lady we know who's a really good runner, and that was how Anna and I met. Was
Oh,
she became part of our team,
oh, lovely.
and we didn't win the first race, became second in the first race with Anna on board. So
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah,
And
Awesome.
they're tough. They are. They're super tough things to do. Yeah, I'm trying to persuade Baz, my partner, to maybe do there's a 2 day light version that you can do in teams as a sort of
mm,
introduction.
right, yeah. But
Oh,
no,
there we go.
fantastic to get to talk to both of you. Thank you for
Yeah,
inviting me.
thank you. And please send my best wishes to Anna. I saw she's injured, so I hope she recovers soon.
Yeah, it's a real, well, you know what it's like. If you're an outdoor fitness person and you like your activities, when you're injured, it's
It's
incredibly frustrating. But
yeah.
she's
It's
getting better.
terrible.
Oh, well, thank you, Neil, so much.
It's a pleasure. Great to see you. Take care.